This contest is scheduled for one fall, led to the ring by their manager, Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, at a combined weight of 852 pounds. Here are Earthquake and Typhoon, the natural disasters.
Those words helped create magic in the World Wrestling Federation. And I would like to let you know today on the School of Morton podcast, Ricky Morton and I will be talking with the one and only Typhoon of the Natural Disasters, also known as Tugboat, the Shockmaster, Mr. Fred Ottman. That conversation is coming up later in this very episode. Now, in case you've missed past episodes, we've talked with J.J. Dillon, manager of the Four Horsemen, about his time working directly for Vince McMahon and stories about working at Vince's home. Also, we've talked with the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan, about his time booking WCW and villain and heel, yes, versus babyface psychology in the wrestling business, and many more guests, all available in the archives at rickymorton.podbean.com, also at iTunes. Subscribe, offer a review, share with a friend, tag us, tweet us, please. Twitter at Real Ricky Morton, Twitter at Scotty is on, Facebook at Scotty on the Radio, Facebook at School of Morton, Facebook at The Babyface Ricky Morton, and next week, we will be talking with the one and only Tommy Dreamer. Now, in case you missed last week's episode, here's a moment from our conversation last week. Really didn't miss an episode, Tommy Wildfire Rich, and that was Smoky Mountain Wrestling by the one and only Jim Cornette, and you were a part of Cornette's militia. How was it working in Smoky Mountain after you had been in Georgia and in the AWA and so many other places?
Well, I enjoyed everywhere I went, man. It's Cornette. I mean, he was, as long as you wasn't around Cornette, it's all right.
As long as you weren't around him.
Yeah. As long as it's like it's a show you had to deal with him, but I didn't go have lunch with him or nothing.
That episode is available in the archives, absolutely free. Search School of Morton on iTunes and visit rickymorton.podbean.com. Welcome to the School of Morton podcast. I'm Scotty Campbell with my co-host, the one and only Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express. Hello, Ricky.
Hello, Scotty. Man, what a great week we have had. Gosh, Robert and I were up in Chicago. Man, do you think it's cold here in Tennessee? Be up in Chicago. Had a great time, the Days of the Dead. Met a lot of interesting people, too. Matter of fact, got to meet Dee Snyder. Man, a rock and roller.
Twisted
He's a rock
sister.
Yeah, and what a great wrestling fan he is. And besides that, guys, what a great human being. First-class person. He'd come over and visit us a couple of times, because you were there for 3 days, and there are a lot of people coming through. But he's good. He has some good stories to tell, too.
I have no doubt. Man, I wish I could have heard some of those. Well, you have a lot of good stories to tell, too, and a lot of those are from the road. Any convenience store stories?
In our business. Okay,
hold on.
Our business.
Whoa. You might want to stop with that in our business thing for a minute. And here's why, Ricky Morton. We received a tweet from VASAN Dog. It says, love listening to Ricky Morton and Scotty on the School of Morton podcast. I've been a fan of the rock and roll since the beginning. My crew and I started a drinking game every time Ricky says, in our business. Buddy, we stay fired up. Keep on doing what you do, Punky.
Yes, but in our business. You should have a buzz going on by now, bro.
Here we are, about a minute in.
Yeah.
They're already getting fired up.
Cool.
But seriously, in your business, those trips on the road, okay, I'm pretty impatient. When I need to go number 1 or 2, it's pretty urgent to me as a human being. I'm just wondering if you've had any situations that might have popped up after a hearty meal on the road.
Scotty, I'm going to answer this, and I don't know how, but I want to describe this the best way I can. I'm only human. Robert and I on the road, and especially, man, we're real big in NWA, and we're coming back from a town, and forgot what I ate that day, but I had to use the bathroom. I mean, it was one of those number 2s that turned into a number 12. It turned into a number 32. And Robert pulled that car over, dude. Let me tell you, you talking about the death walk. I did a death walk into the store, and the lady at the counter asked her, I says, ma'am, which direction is your bathroom? And she looked at me, this is like it, we don't have no bathroom.
No.
I says, ma'am, you don't understand. This is an emergency. Where's your bathroom? I told you we don't have no bathroom. But I'm saying this in a good manner. It ain't the way I approached her when this was over. So I asked her, I says, where do you use the bathroom? It's for employees only.
I hate those words.
Well, yes, but I told her, I says, but it's an emergency. I don't care. It's for employees only. And I'm standing right there in the middle of the store. And I told Robert, I said, Robert, would you please run to the car and get me a towel? He looked at me. His eyes got big. I says, now, please.
Like you
I'm
just
talking,
got out of the shower towel?
Yeah, I had one of those in my car, and I says, ma'am, I don't care. And brother, I just dropped my pants. And I let it rip right there in the middle of the store. I couldn't go no further. She looked at me and says, I'm calling the police. I said, call the police. I actually begged you to let me use your restroom. I told you it was an emergency. I could not go no further. Call the police, and Robert's going, oh, my God, we're going to jail. I said, well, let us go to jail. I asked her. That was one of those death-defying retreats, and I'm telling you, I took the towel, I cleaned myself up the best I could, and I threw it on the floor, and I looked at her, and I said, now you clean up the... in our business.
So that's the true story.
That's a true story. It really is.
Of the day you stunk up a convenience store.
And Robert lost his mind.
What are you doing?
What else could I do?
Ricky?
I could not go no further, buddy. I mean, one of those real burritos done got to me, I guess. I don't know.
It wasn't on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, was it?
I don't know.
Don't remember. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's get down to business here. Okay. Question from Scott via Twitter says, love the show and all the stories and history. Brings me back to when I was a kid. Are there any performers, past or present, that you would love to wrestle that you maybe haven't had the chance?
I would, and I'm gonna go into this. I was watching Survivor Series the other night, and this is why we're coming from you from the School of Morton, and this is what I love teaching in our business. But most independent wrestlers these days, they're in this high spot syndrome. It's about getting my stuff in, and they do not even know the history of our business or what our history is all about. And yes, I'm talking to you. That's why I have a School of Morton, to teach you more about our business. It's what it's about and how to put behinds in the seats and people to come back to see you again. Instead of me coming out and guys asking me to watch their match, in which there's 4 matches, and I watch all 4 of them, and all 4 of them are the same. Now, I'm going off here on a rampage here, but it's just what I'm trying to tell you. This is why I have a school, and you don't necessarily have to come to my school. There's a lot of good wrestling schools out there. I know the Dudleys have got one in Florida, one in New York. Tommy Dreamer has one. Robert Gibson's got one down right outside of Douglasville, Georgia, APCW. Tommy Rich at Myrtle Beach. Guys, we're people in this business that dedicated our whole life to it. So come to our school. You don't got to impress me. And what you impress me is when you have a good match, when you could tell a story, when you could sit down and go to the ring and not sit in the back and go over your match for 2 hours in an 8-minute match. Then you would impress me. But getting back to the Survivor Series, I know a lot of people out there, especially for wrestling fans, AJ Styles wrestled Brock Lesnar the other night. And I'm telling you, you see how Brock Lesnar went to a whole different wrestling style. This is our business. This is what we do. AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar actually stowed the show at Survivor Series. Wonderful, wonderful match. And AJ brought the best out of Brock Lesnar. Man, I'm telling you, Brock Lesnar, man, looked incredibly other night, because everybody knows, he's a monster. He, in real life, he fold you in half, bad to the bone. But going to the ring and AJ Styles, they actually tore the house down. Now, I never had the chance, but before I retire, I would love to have a match with AJ Styles. And I'm not talking about in WWE. Now, we're getting back to a thing. We're going to be in Starrcade this Saturday night.
Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yes, we are. And people ask me, are we going to wrestle there? No, we're not going to be. We're not wrestling there that night. And I'm kind of glad, because you got to understand, I have nothing to prove in this business. Everything that I have done, they had repaid me for it. I have a WWE Hall of Fame ring. I have did a lot of things over my life, and I have nobody there that I want to impress. I still do a lot in our business. You know, Scotty, I can still fly. Just my landing gear is a little wore out. I can do a lot of stuff.
Double drop kicks for the win.
Yes, we can still do all that. But I have nothing to prove. But, you know, when AJ I don't want to wrestle him on WWE. No. I just like to go in the ring and work with him and see. You know, I appreciate a good worker. I appreciate a guy that gives everything that you got when you get inside that ring. That's what makes the difference between the great and the greatest. AJ Styles, if you're listening or if you hear anything, one of the best matches I ever seen Brock Lesnar have, and you brought the best out of him. And I know you could bring the best back out of me, even though I'm 61 years old.
Now, speaking of the one and only AJ Styles, we received a message via Twitter from Craig Thomas at CrowFan83. He says that good old JR, Jim Ross, just paid AJ Styles the ultimate compliment, comparing him to Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express, hashtag Survivor Series.
Wow. First time I heard that, that's a great compliment. Jim Ross, I know Jim Ross. Even before he got in the wrestling business, he was still working on the radio and everything. But Jim's like me. You know, he gives credit where credit is due. I'm not comparing myself to nobody. I was Ricky Morton. I just gave everything I got. But, Jim, thank you. That's a compliment for both of us, I hope. I don't know. Only way I know how to answer that, Scotty. And thank you, bud, for letting me know that. It's really cool. Thank you.
There have been some great referees in the history of professional wrestling. Your father, as I understand it, did a fine job. Tommy Young, well known for his NWA years. And many others get compliments and comments and maybe even some criticisms over the years. But we received this question from Daniel. He tweeted at Real Ricky Morton and at Scotty is on. He says, I'm too old and unathletic to learn to be a wrestler, but I may make a good referee. How can I learn to be a referee? Now, Ricky, I don't know where Daniel's from, but that is his question.
Well, Daniel, to tell you the truth, it's like anything else. You have to learn. First of all, we have to start and work on you because being a referee, you got to be an athlete to be a professional wrestler. A referee. It's just as hard being a referee as a wrestler. It's a lot of thinking you got to do. It's a lot of things going on, a lot of timing and all that. But like I said earlier, it's according on what part of the country you're in. There's wrestling schools everywhere. They teach you how to referee too. Matter of fact, a lot of my guys here that train when we have house shows, the ones that are first breaking in and they're trying to learn, that's what I do. I make them referee the matches because there's so much you can learn by refereeing a match, watching these guys that are moving and listening to them and what they're doing and how they're telling a story or how we try to portray to tell that story. Just find you a wrestling school, bud, and go to it. But understand, don't let anybody tell you can't do nothing, and don't let yourself down. You might look at me, man. I'm 61 years old, and I'm on the go all the time. I have something to look forward to. I love going to the gym in the morning. I love working out. So you got to get that frame of mind in your mind if you want to become a referee. You're not too old for nothing. I never say that. I mean, it's just what you want to do, and if your heart's into it.
And if you enjoy the School of Morton podcast, tell a friend. Share it on Facebook, on Twitter. Tag a friend of yours that's a wrestling fan. Let them know. We're available on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, the TuneIn app on your television, so many places. Also, rickymorton.podbean.com. Now, in the past, we've talked with J.J. Dillon of the Four Horsemen about his time working in the WWF directly for Vince McMahon. We've talked with Bullet Club's Chase Owens, who's wrestling for New Japan. We've talked with the Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan, the Universal Heartthrob Austin Idol, and last week Ricky Morton and I talked with Wildfire Tommy Rich. All available for free in the archives, iTunes, and Podbean. Search for School of Morton. And Ricky Morton, we had this question come in saying, I finally caught up with the podcasts of School of Morton. I love listening to you guys. I have a number of questions, but the most pressing is, why hasn't Robert Gibson been on yet? Let's do it, guys.
Well, you got to understand this. I'm with Robert more than I am my wife. And I don't like her either. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm going to have Robert on here. we're just getting this thing started and getting it off. Hey, sometimes you got to save the best for later on. Now, we have to wait till everybody knows about our podcast and get it together and before we can advertise it a lot and get a lot more viewers, because I want everybody to call and ask questions. Now, Robert and I got some great stories. I don't think if a podcast is long enough to do it. But, yes, I'm going to be advertising that. I'm going to be bringing him on. So everybody get together, get your questions down, send them in to us before we know how to answer them. Hey, before we can rehearse those, because some of those would be crazy. Okay.
Love it. Now, you and Robert were together last weekend. You mentioned the Days of the Dead convention in Chicago. I'm curious, how many people went through there over the course of that 3-day weekend?
I think, I don't work in the office. I was just there signing over. I think somebody said a little over 12,000 people.
Wow.
Came through there. But, man, they had some great people there, While I said Linda Blair was even there.
From The Exorcist.
Yes, and then, man, they had a lot of great people there. And all the monsters were walking around. If you've never been to one of these conventions, and this is like my second one, but I've never been to one just like this, the people that came in, man, they were dressed up scarier than the movies, I'm telling you. It was really cool. I had a great time. Robert and I had a great time, and that's the important thing about it all.
This Friday, in fact, the day after Thanksgiving, you're going to be heading to Madison, West Virginia. Well, now, what's there?
What's there? But can I say something first of all?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but Thursday night, I'm going to be in Rutherford, North Carolina. I'll be wrestling down there Thanksgiving night. Everybody in that area, they know where the wrestling is. Go down and see Sharon. Get a hold of her, call her. Ricky Morton will be there early. Be Turkey Day. I'll be coming on down. But Madison, West Virginia on Friday night. Myself and Billy Gunn will be there Friday night. That's Gary Damerel. They have the wrestling there at the auditorium. Man, they have some great, great shows. Get a chance, anybody in that area around Logan, Huntington, Charleston, y'all come on down, man. If we can get ready for a great show this weekend.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
And I brought you something.
You didn't, they called back. You eat butterball turkey?
Yeah, I had a butterball turkey about a week ago.
Did you really?
Yeah.
They called all the butterball turkey back. You didn't see that?
No.
Yeah, they forgot to butter the balls.
Oh.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, man.
All right. Now, also this weekend, after you leave Madison, West Virginia, you head to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, because WrestleCade is this weekend. Details at their website, WrestleCade.com.
Yes, and this is an every-year event. I think it's sold out, but please go down and try to get you a ticket because, sometimes they always can slide a few extra in. A lot of the great stars there. All your top wrestlers in the country. Get a chance, you come on out and see us. We'll be signing autographs there from like 10 in the morning to like 2 or 3 in the afternoon because we got to cut that short, and then we got to get in our car and drive about 30 miles over to Greensboro, North Carolina. Dude, you're talking about the heart of the Rock and Roll Express, the backbone of the Rock and Roll Express. People ask me all the time, Ricky Morton, where's your favorite place to wrestle? That's in the Carolinas. That's north-south. That's Virginia, too. That was the area of the Jim Crockett days. That was the area of the NWA days. Man, this is what we breathe on. This is what put the breath in our lungs. And I cannot wait to get back to the Greensboro Coliseum, and all the fans out there listening, please come out and see us. Believe it or not, Robert and I are still both alive. Believe it or not, we still wrestle, but we won't be that night, and I don't want to. But please come and see us. This is Starrcade, man. It's coming back to Greensboro, North Carolina, where it belongs and the home.
I loved it when I heard the big voice guy that does the commercials for WWE. His name's Ed Weigel. WWE presents Starrcade live in Greensboro. With appearances by the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and the addition, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Oh, yeah, Rick's coming back home, too, man, too there.
I just must add, and I might as well do it in this fashion, because it's been a while since we've heard the sound of the voice of the one and only American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Now, in the WWE, there's been the Gold Dust for several years, and my boy Coda was there for a little while. He's out on the independents now. You'll see him soon, Ricky Martin. Now, my boy, the Gold Dust, he's going to be wrestling at Starrcade as Dustin Rhodes. True story.
Scotty, you just gave me cold chills.
I got him too.
I'm
I
looking
miss that
around
man.
for Dusty. Do you miss him?
I can't imagine how much you do.
I love the man. You know, the man put his hand on my shoulders and I saw stars. That was the way it was, you know, and Starcade, invented by Dusty Rhodes. And that's a wonderful thing. The promoters, production, the guys that put the show together. And that's the first time I heard that. I cannot believe. And that's a great compliment.
Yes.
Not only to our business, but the city of Greensboro. Because people like us that you made from the old days, we never forgot about you. When they took Starcade out of Greensboro, that was one of my major fits, one of my bipolar fits I turned when they took that away from the Greensboro Coliseum. Can't wait to be there. Can't wait to see you all.
Now, if you can't make it to Greensboro, North Carolina, maybe you can make it this Saturday, November 25th, to Rogersville, Tennessee, the National Guard Armory, as School of Morton will be there. Your students will be performing there. Also, they're going to be back at the School of Morton in Chuckey, Tennessee, Sunday, December 3rd, and Sunday, December 10th.
And I will be at both of those.
All right. And also, I understand you have plans for Christmas in Johnson City, Tennessee. The School of Morton live.
That's live Christmas night. Now, understand me, folks, everybody that's out there, if you're around the Johnson City, Bristol, Greenville, Irwin, you get up in the morning and you open your presents up. And then you might have a Christmas breakfast. Then you have that big Christmas dinner. Probably a football game on. But there's nothing else to do. You know, McDonald's is not even open.
Your great aunt can only kiss you so many times and squeeze those little cheeks.
You only wear that rabbit suit long enough. Get out, come down to the Johnson City Theater. Come and check us out, man. We're going to have a great show for you, and I'm guarantee you it's worth every penny of it. Stand behind these kids and see how much they progress, see how much they have grown at the School of Morton, and we appreciate you coming out.
There's a little girl and her family, and they're having a time of need, and that would be Ruby Kate. I want you to go to Facebook.com/Ruby Kate's Fight. Ruby Kate has MPS 1. It's also known as Hurler syndrome and Hurler's disease. She's a beautiful little girl, and she is spending a lot of time in the hospital. Her family's there a lot, too. And Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express is one of the people pitching in to help.
Yes, I am, Scotty. November the 30th, Lebanon, Virginia. And everybody listen to this, Lebanon, Virginia, at the Wendy's. I will be there from 4 o'clock to I don't know what time, but we're raising money. Yes, I will be selling autographed pictures directly to you, and every penny I make, I will give to
Ruby Kate's Fight.
Yes, I will. Every bit of it.
And that's Thursday, November 30th, Lebanon, Virginia, at Wendy's.
Yes, looking forward to it, man. Everybody come out. I know there's a lot of wrestling fans over there. Come on out and help this little girl out.
And Saturday, December 9th, you are Georgia bound, Peach.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Going to
Sweetwater Gym in Thompson, Georgia. Meet and greet at 5:45. Showtime 7 p.m. The Rock and Roll Express together there for Viral Pro Wrestling. That's Saturday, December 9th.
Oh, yeah, Robert and I both will be there. That's like people understand. I was telling you earlier, man, we're still very active in the business, and we still get out there and get around. So a lot of the wrestling fans down there come out and see Ricky Morton. I might even do the bionic elbow.
If you will. If you will, Ricky Morton, one more time, Daddy.
Dude.
You know, actually, I hadn't spent a lot of time thinking about this, but you probably wrestle more often than some people on the main roster at Impact or on Raw or SmackDown.
You know what? And I never thought about that either, but we do. You know, I probably wrestle at least 3 or 4 times a week. And but that's a good thing, especially after you put us into the Hall of Fame.
People want to see the Rock and Roll Express, and they have the opportunity to do that in a lot of places. Now, that leads me to this. Maybe you or your promotion, maybe you're having an event, you want to bring in the Rock and Roll Express, you want to bring in Ricky Morton. RickyMortonOnline.com is where you go to get more information. Also, Christmas and so many other holidays coming up. You're going to need a shirt. Maybe you need that gift for that significant other or that special person in your life.
And if you want to get that perfect shirt, that good-looking shirt, even a School of Morton shirt, a Rock and Roll Express shirt, go on Pro Wrestling Tees. Best quality, best shirt, and good-looking shirt.
And they even have them for big old people, too, Daddy. I'm talking about they ain't too tight either.
And the little people, too.
Yes.
Okay.
ProWrestlingTees.com. Search for Ricky Morton.
And then again, I want to thank, too, Collar and Elbow. Man, they sent me some great shirts, too. So if everybody's out there, look up Collar and Elbow on your Facebook. Man, check that out. I don't know here on the podcast what I should do is call you Tugboat or Typhoon or Fred, but we'd use all of them, man.
You can use all of them, buddy. A to the Z.
You know what? I'm on here, too, with Scotty Campbell.
We had a lot of questions come in via Twitter to @RealRickyMorton and @ScottyIsOn. Also Facebook @ScottyOnTheRadio and Facebook @School of Morton. So I wanted to start back before the world was introduced to Tugboat, before the world was introduced to Typhoon and the natural disasters. I wanted to hear about your time in championship wrestling from Georgia and Texas and Continental Wrestling, and how it was for you in the early days, and also curious if you grew up watching.
You got it, man. I mean, as far as growing up watching, I'm born and raised in Miami, Florida, and I grew up on Florida Championship Wrestling with Gordon Soley. You know what I'm saying? The Grahams, the Funks, the Briscoes, the great Malenko, Andre the Giant when he was the thinner giant, you know, and Louis Tillett, and oh my God, I can't even go down the list of you know, Pac Song, Gary Hart. I mean, just that's what I grew up on. I mean, you know, my morning was waking up on a Saturday morning watching cartoons, having my breakfast, and then around 10:30, 11 o'clock, come championship wrestling from Florida, and after I watched wrestling, it was out to play with the, you know, the kids in the neighborhood. I mean, it was my life, you know, from a young age, you know. And my mama, she's from West by God, Virginia. I come from a corrupt household because my dad's from the Bronx in New York. So I'm a pretty messed up fella. You know,
Fred, who trained you in the business?
Boris Malenko, and actually Jody Malenko and Dean both, when they were, you know what I'm saying, they had been working for a while, but I mean, when I broke in, they were all down there. I started out down there in Fort Lauderdale because when I was about 19, 20 years old, some of the guys, when they'd come down there, they either wrestled at the Miami Beach Convention Center, which is where they used to film the old Jackie Gleason show.
Yes.
Or they'd wrestled down in Dinner Key Auditorium down in Coconut Grove. Okay, and the gym that I trained at, the guys would come, you know, like the Royal Kangaroos would come in there, and a couple of the other different guys and everything, and they would talk to me and everything. Matter of fact, my first bench press contest was at the YMCA when I was about 18 years old, 17, 18 years old. And Mike Graham him and his dad, they flew down early he came down there, and I was a novice, and he benched in the open. I almost had a heart attack when I seen him walk in the room because I'm such a big wrestling fan, you know, with his dad, Eddie, and you know what I'm saying? And I was like, holy Jesus, you know what I'm saying? And for being a smaller guy, he was a strong man. You know, I believe he did a 440, and then he benched, went for a 460, I think it was.
Wow. Yeah, you know, Mike.
If I remember right, you know?
Yeah, Mike was a little guy, but he was a tough little guy, too.
Oh, he was a tough, and, you know, I mean, I feel blessed to have lived in an area where there was so many people in this territory that came through, you know, from all over the country to work, and being able to see all those great superstars, you know. And then when I did finally get into business, to have the opportunity to work with some of them people, you know, and I always tell the younger guys, you know, I love to still go to independent shows and other, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that, and talk with the younger guys and stuff like that. And, you know, I don't have to tell you, you know, the wrestling business is a learning curve because you're always learning.
Yeah, that's right. You know, did you ever go to the dungeon? Was you ever reduced to the dungeon down there, Eddie Graham and Mike had, where they trained the wrestlers guys back then?
Well, I heard some horror stories when I come to move to Tampa because down there I was only training on the weekends up in
you know what?
Fort Lauderdale.
And this is, but you was talking about some of the guys that were tough, and I want to tell this little story right quick if I can. Which Robert and I were down at the dungeon when we was having a meeting. Matter of fact, all the boys were in there, and all of a sudden here come this guy inside there, a big old guy, bodybuilder guy, and he come in and want to be a wrestler right in the middle of the meeting. And this is my manager. He brought his manager with him too, you know, and he's wanting to wrestle. And Eddie Graham's trying to tell him, said, listen, to make this a little short, he goes, instead of you letting me wrestle these guys right here, I tell you what, you see that old man back there sweeping the floor, which it was, you remember Spider Galento?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay. Now, see, I didn't know all this stuff here, and I'm sitting down. He said, I'll tell you what you do. If you can beat that old man back there, we will let you wrestle one of these guys right here. We might let you do something on TV. And this guy was going, that old man went on a guy. He says, no. So the debate, he get up in the ring, and the next thing I know, I mean, in 30 seconds, you know, this guy had his head up his butt. You know, I mean, Spider Galento.
Oh, yeah.
This guy was crying, screaming. Yeah, he was screaming. And he was hollering at the manager. The manager's hollering. He told him, it's not you that's in here. You know, boy, look here. And as soon as they let him go, he jumped up and told everybody he was sorry. Ran out the door. Him and his manager. That's a true story.
Wow.
Oh, man. I heard when I moved up here, the gym I trained at up here, the guys had told me about horror stories. You know, a couple of them were police officers, you know, and they told me about the old sportatorium down there, and that's where they'd have them guys come in and do tryouts, and they'd bring them in there, blow them up, and, you know, they'd stretch them. You know, that's when every territory had a hooker, you know, a shooter.
Yes,
you know,
they did.
Every territory had one. You know what I mean? The Bob Backlunds and gentlemen of that nature.
Yeah.
I remember moving up here, and Malenko was good friends with Carl Gotch. You know, he was one of his best friends. And I was at my mom and dad's. They had a farm up, and they moved up here years before I ever come up this way from Miami. And they had a place out in Brooksville, Florida, about an hour north of Tampa. And so I come up, and Malenko says, I'm going to take you down here and introduce you to my friend. He lives out here in Odessa, Carl Gotch. And I said, oh, man, I was real excited. You know, I was a power lifter and all that stuff. And so my mom, I come up, and I stayed with them. And you know, I got up in the morning, and she had me a big country breakfast, you know, biscuits and gravy and ham and all that stuff, you know. And then I went to the gym, and I worked out for about 2 hours. I'm like, I want to look good and impress this guy, you know. Yeah, man, I went out there. First thing we did is did a deck of cards, and we went to his house. And I blew my breakfast all over the front lawn, you know.
Man.
You know, oh, my God. You know, he took me through, you know, it was all that old school training and that stuff. And, I mean, I was just, you know, excited about meeting him because I had heard so many stories about him. And, oh, my God. But that was a kind of an introduction type deal to an education that continued throughout my career, you know.
Well, what you got introduced the boys, I mean, it was a whole different ball game. I mean, it's this is a business I love, a business I desire.
I love this business.
Yes, and when you become one of the boys, there's nothing like it. The love between the boys, you know that. I want to tell you that.
Oh yeah,
and all that. Now, give me I got people that wrote in here, and they tell us a lot. But first of all, what I want to know is just answer me. I mean, who gave you your first break? Where was your first match at?
My first match? Well, I worked, obviously, some shows that Malenko put on up here locally. But when they first sent me up to somebody looking, they sent me up when to the studio in Georgia. I went up there with Batman, Tony Marino was one, and then Cyclone Negro. I rode up with them, and I'm in the back seat of a Cadillac, and a guy named Ron Slinker was driving. And they wanted to take me up there to Atlanta, and they wanted to take a look at me. So I'm in there. I swear to God, we weren't out of town 5 minutes, and both of them was asleep on my shoulders in the back. And the guy, Slinker looks up, and he goes, yeah, kid, that's how you can tell a real pro. They can sleep anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, Jesus Christmas. Oh, my Lord. You know, but I went up there and I wrestled. There was a bunch of different guys there. I mean, and I did a little bit up there, and then I come back to Florida, and then Malenko told me, he said, you got a call from San Antonio, Texas. Joe Blanchard just sold the territory. And Colonel Buck Robley was the booker. He said they want you, and it was me, Ricky Santana, and a guy named Paul Diamond. And we went out, and they sent us out there. And they had some young talent there, and there was some older talent there. What was really, really good, I was there for about a year and a half, probably. And it was the best experience because, I mean, Jose Lothario was there, Black Gordman, Mark Lewin, Bob Sweetan, the Guerreros, and I mean, I went through 2 or 3 bookers. It was Texas All-Star Wrestling, they called it.
Yeah, let me ask you something, though. What year was that? You know, because my first pick territory that I first got...
83, 84, maybe?
Okay, it must have been, you know, because I went out and worked for Joe. I was out there for Joe Blanchard.
The Bushwhackers, when they were the sheep herders.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, they come in and took the book over, didn't they?
You know, they were the roughest, toughest, bloodiest son of guns I've ever seen. They turned them into the turned them to the Bushwhackers, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, grew up watching, you know what I'm saying, in the South, and going to, I got all kind of things thrown on me there because here I am in a territory that's probably one of the bloodiest territories I ever worked in the business. And
you know, I worked that territory myself, and at the time my tag team partner Ken Lucas, and that's where we went on that USA nationwide TV. And gosh, man, did you work for Paul Botch too over in Houston? And
no, I never had the opportunity. I never had the opportunity to work with him. I heard great things over there.
Yeah. I think that was after, you know, Robert and I, we went to Mid-South, and I think Bill Watts started, because we used to go over there, and Joe was over there. I love Joe Blanchard. I love working for him. I love the area.
Joe was a nice man.
Lived on Jackson Keller and Blanco Road, and still remember it like it was yesterday. Gosh, what a great time. It's when you're young in the business, and you did the TV right behind the Blanco Cafe, and yeah, man, remember that? And it was so cool, man. I used to, a lot of my memories in the business come from there. And, man, I had a great time. Tully Blanchard, Gino Hernandez, you know, Bob Sweetan was there at the time, and the Turk. Well, yeah, but me and Ken Lucas, and we did I enjoyed it, learned a lot what was there.
You had a lot of territory stops along the way. And before
I was blessed.
When did the call come about? Or did you reach out to the WWF? Did they find you? How did that entrance happen?
No, actually, I had been working for quite some time, and I went over. I was working in Florida. I'd come back to Florida, and I went by and seen the guys at the office and said hello, and that's Steve Kern and Mike and Dusty Almas, and they were starting a new office there. I was working there, and then at one of our biggest shows here in Tampa, Otto Vance had come over with scouting talent for his territory over in, you know, Germany and Austria. And after we did the show and that, they had talked, when I went to the office, on Monday after we did the show the weekend, and he goes, Otto Vance is interested in you coming over for about 10 days, and he wants to work you. He wants to work you. He was the champion in Graz, Austria, where Schwarzenegger's from. I said, no, that's all. You know, I was real excited about that, and I went over, worked him, and they treated me like gold over there. It was a tremendous experience. You know, they work rounds over there just like boxing, and they'll work a building 30, 40 days straight and sell out the building every night. I was just the most amazing thing I had ever seen in my life. They'd work these hockey arenas, and the boys would all live in it was like a caravan. And then they'd move to the next town for 30 or 40 days, you know, and work. But when I came back to Tampa, they called me in the office, and they said, you know, and Mike and Steve and Gordon Soley was there, and they met with me. They said, you know, while you were gone, we got calls from WCW and WWF, and they're interested in taking a look at you. They've seen tapes and stuff like that, and they wanted you to come up, and you know, it's, you know, we're not going to tell you what to do or who to, you know, or what help you make a decision or anything. Like, what was really cool about this Florida office, it was like family. You know how you were talking about earlier, you know, the wrestling business, we are family. Good, bad, or ugly sometimes, depending on who's the black sheep in your family. You know,
I got you.
You know, but it's one of them things. You know, they said, you know, that decision's up to you. You know, but we wanted to let you know they both contacted us, and I was like, you know, well, there was no disrespect to WCW, but I was like, wow, you know, this is where I always wanted to be. But my biggest fear was, am I good enough to go there? You know what I'm saying? That was always always self-doubting. You know, I worked my butt off, and I loved this business. I was a fan before I was in this business. You know, I was a wrestler, you know, and I'm still a fan after the fact, you know, with the business. I watched several of the different things they're on. Yeah, I try and keep current. I mean, you know, and it's nice meeting the new young guys when we do these signings and stuff and going out and everything. But that, you know, I decided to go with WWF, and that my first look at me, they had brought me up there to Niagara Falls at the Civic Center up there, and I did a dark match for them up there. I did several dark matches in different TVs over 3-4 week period, and then they brought me in, and I was wrestling as U.S. Steel, a big steel man. When I was wrestling that way in Florida, DDP was my manager, and so was the Rooster.
Didn't they put you with Slick for a little while there?
Well, that was I came up as, until they give you a gimmick, you know what I'm saying? It's all about merchandise and this, or whatever they want to do. I came in as, you know, the big steel man, and Slick was my manager for the first 6-8 months. I was there until they come up with the gimmick, you know, because they're always juggling and feeding new talent to you know, Hulk and everything like that. So, and it was a turnover and everything like so. Yeah, Slickster was my manager, you know, when I did initially come in there.
Awesome. Now,
doctor, there you go.
The doctor of style.
Hallelujah, brother. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
He's a good guy. Good guy. Man.
Absolutely. Wanted to ask you, too, there, in those early moments in the WWF, was Vince McMahon talking with you directly, or was there a particular agent who presented the idea of Tugboat, who created that character?
No, they called you in the office, and I think they always worked like, you know, Vince would sit down with all of his guys, and I guess they would pass agents or whoever the powers may be. You know, Pat Patterson was always his right-hand man, you know, and they would throw things back and forth in that, like a committee, I think, probably kind of situation. But he would call you in the office and you'd talk to it. Because the thing is, if they come up with a gimmick for you, they want you to be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? If you're not comfortable, I don't have to tell you this. You know what I'm saying? If you are not comfortable with what you're doing in this business and the gimmick that they give you, no matter what it is, because that's like people come to me all the time, what was your favorite gimmick? And I've wrestled with so many different gimmicks through the years from the initial bit. When you know, I was wrestling with Malenko, I was the mighty Siegfried. Okay?
Okay.
How appropriate. I'm Sick Fred. So I go Sick Fred. Oh my God, you know.
You made a point a while ago, and this is what I have a wrestling school here, and we do very good at it.
Yeah.
But you made a point earlier that and it's like this forever, guy, that you're afraid. But the point that I get across to all my boys is never be afraid to be afraid, you know, and it's hard to understand that sometimes, but it was the same way like you. You went ahead and you fulfilled your stuff. You did great at it, but that's a point that I always make here at my school. When you said that earlier, you was worried about if you were good enough. You was good enough. But see, you were good enough because you proceeded with it. You had a good career at it.
During that period as Tugboat, I recall that you helped the immortal Hulk Hogan, and he was having his feud at that time with Earthquake and Dino Bravo. Yeah. So how was that exposure, that moment? How did that feel as a human being, Fred, to be able to be in the middle of something of that magnitude at that point in your career?
I couldn't believe it, actually. You know what I'm saying? Here you have the man that took the business to the next level, you know, and is, you know, that American icon. I mean, I tell people a lot of times, I would go out there with him, I'd go out the ring, I'd have to pee about 4 or 5 times before I'd be so nervous, you know, just going out there. I'm like, I'm going out with this guy, main event guy, in this major angle, that they're doing back and forth, and I would be so nervous. But once you went through that curtain, you know what I'm saying? And I tell a lot of young guys, I says, it's there. But once you get out there and you feel that electricity of those people, and Hulk was just, and still is, he is a good guy and genuine guy. And he's helped so many guys in this business. But just getting out there and feeling that electricity and the people's response, and whether you're a heel or a baby face, and getting that response, I feel it's missing a lot from this business, because so many people get so involved with what they're doing inside the ring that they forgot to, during telling the story, to involve the fans in this thing. You know what I'm saying? It's an interactive kind of deal. And I think that was something that you learned a lot from the small territories in the day. It was up close and personal, I don't know. It's just me, my opinion.
Well, I think you're right on that. You hit the nail right on the head, buddy. I mean, see, that's what's wrong today. Is, the guys didn't work the small territories and understand the word work. Yeah. They didn't understand that. And it was a long, hard road, boys. Nothing's given to you.
Yeah. And it was always a thing of taking care of each other. You know what I'm saying?
That's a cue right now. People ask me, Ricky Morton, you're 61 years old, you still work 3 or 4 nights a week. How do you do it? Well, it's called longevity, and it's called working with people that you can trust and people that don't hurt you. But I know the business has changed. I'm not sitting here trying to make fun of that. Nowadays it's changed. But it's even like today. When I get in the ring with somebody, it ain't the part that I can still do a lot of stuff. It's the part that the guy I'm in the ring with, he can do a lot of stuff, and he'll take care of me, and I take care of him. I don't got to worry about getting hurt. Mm-hmm. That's the main thing in our business, and the main thing that a lot of boys these days have forgot about. But we got some great talent, Buzz. Let me tell you, there's some great talent.
There's some great talent out there.
Yes,
great talent. And I love it. Like I said, I'm still a fan. I love to watch. And since the beginning of my career, I was at that curtain. If I wasn't working in the ring, I may be the last person out of the building, because I was watching every match. I wanted to watch. I wanted to see, it was like, and you learn. I see so many guys that use the same holds and the same things all the time, over and over and over. There's over 1,000 holds, you know what I'm saying? And mix it, and I tell guys, I say, utilize. That's why you go and train. And that's why you learn so many things, man, to utilize these things. And, it's not the same thing night after night after night after night. It's wrestling on that marquee, man.
That's why I was saying earlier, before you come on the air, was talking about my school. And sometimes the guys at the shows will ask, come out and watch my match. Well, I watch the four matches, and all of them be the same.
Yeah.
And they do the same thing. Matter of fact, they all dress alike. They all look alike. But it's not that, it's just, I guess it's a different era in our business. I don't know. But here at my school, I try to teach the best way I know how. We were very good at it, Fred. We do a good job here. But, it's something else. I have a lot of people here that, that's called, want you to answer a couple of questions, especially about you and Earthquake. Now, Earthquake was a good friend of mine.
Sure.
Met him.
That's my brother from another mother, buddy.
I know it. Met him, worked.
Incredible.
We worked for Baba in Japan. I went on a lot of tours with him in Japan. He was, and in life, I treat people the way they treat me. He treated me like gold. And it just like, he was a good friend of mine. And this is a question one of the guys called in and wanted to know, did you prefer working in a 6-man, singles, or as a tag team? What did you prefer the best?
Well, when I was with, I've tagged with a lot of guys, but when I was with Quake, he was so genuinely you know what I'm saying? There was never issues on the road when we were traveling. There was never, we had fun together. We worked hard together, and do whatever we need to do and in that ring. And we did always, it's just hard to express. He was probably one of the best guys. I've worked with a lot of guys, and I love each and every one that I've ever tagged with. I mean, 6-mans are good. I've worked 8-mans. I've worked, a variety of different matches like that, but I just enjoyed tagging with Quake. Probably some of the most memorable and best moments of my career.
That's good.
Being with him.
Robert.
I just love the guy.
Robert and I have been tag team partners for almost 35 years. And I told him this when they put us in the Hall of Fame. If I had it to do over again, I wouldn't change a thing. Even though, we're on the road a lot, buddy. I mean, we don't. Yeah. We have our problems sometimes, but I'm with him more than I am my wife. But understand, there's nothing. Over the years, he didn't become my wrestling partner. He became my brother, and I love him. As my brother, and that's the truth. That's from my heart, and I know that you felt the same way about Quake.
It was the worst thing when Quake called me on the phone. He was getting ready to go. He had cancer, and he'd gotten through that, and he was in remission. And then when I got that phone call, he was going to his stepson's wedding over in Orlando. Yeah, and he was living in Houston at that time. And he called me. He says, "Freddie, he said it's bad." And it wasn't long after that I lost him, and it was just the biggest heartbreak. For me, it was truly a family member that I lost, and I think about him many, many times and during many days. And he was an important part of my life, and he was incredible. He was a great athlete, and a lot of people out there don't realize, he did. He was an alternate on the Olympic team in Canada. He wrestled at LSU as an amateur. He had that background. He wrestled sumo for over a year. He was undefeated. But he hated how they are, the discipline, and how it was when he lived in Sumo Town.
A different culture.
And then he broke in there with Baba, like you say.
Yeah, it's a whole different culture if you're not used to that. Yeah. You go to, just to go from Canada to USLA and then go to Japan. Oh my God, what a shock that had to be. I remember the first time I went to Japan, it's like going to Mars. I mean, it was, everything was different.
Yeah.
Now, during your time as one half of the Natural Disasters, 91 until 93, I do believe. Now, I was one of those millions of people around the world watching you guys.
Yeah.
But I'd like for you to open the memory book here for just a moment for us. And I want to know more about...
My memory's shot.
I want to know more about who John Tenta, the man we knew as Earthquake, was. What kind of hobbies did he like? Or were there things he wanted to enjoy or certain music he wanted to listen to?
He was similar to me as far as that goes. I mean, I still watch cartoons. I got a picture of me and him at Disney World with our families in Orlando on the Dumbo ride with Mickey Mouse ears on, okay?
That's awesome.
And the people are pointing at us. They knew who we were from TV, and here's these two big, rhinoceroses out there with Mickey Mouse ears on. We're riding the Dumbo ride. Well, luckily, we didn't snap them off. I mean, both of them 400 pounds then, But he loved music. I remember I was telling my wife today, I was getting the Christmas decorations out to take them over to where she's going to put them up at one of her buildings down here in St. Pete. And I'm like, I remember when we were on the road, we'd been on the road for 10 days straight because you go out for I wrestled for over 28 years, and it was minimal 300 days a year we wrestled. Didn't matter if you were in territories, or it didn't matter if you were flying on the plane. I mean, my life, and I don't have to tell you this, with planes, trains, automobiles, and even an occasional boat I've been on, to get where you have to be from point A to point B.
And I still live that life.
People don't realize it. They think, you just go to TV and you go home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what I was saying? I still live that life. Wrestling's the only thing I know.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a brain surgeon. I don't. Wrestling's all I know, and I love this business. You know what, Fred? And I want to tell you, it was absolute pleasure having you on our show. I mean, time goes by quick when you're having fun. But if you're ever up in the East Tennessee area, or if you're ever up around here working, let me know. I'd love to.
I'll have to let you know. I'll be up there soon because I got to go up. My wife's from Nashville.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's where I'm from, Nashville.
Yeah, my wife is from Nashville, and we're going to go up there, and I'd like to come by and see y'all.
Yeah, I'd love for you to come to my school here. I mean, to see
That'd be awesome.
The way I started off and what it's grown into. Yeah. And it's a good place. It's a comfort zone. Man, we have a lot of fun and we learn a lot here. And I just want to tell you, I know that we wasn't in the same territories like all the time, but I know you in our business.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're one of the brothers, and we're all together. And thank you so much for being on my show. And I want to bring you back.
Thank you for having me.
I want to bring you back, man. You got some great stories, man. Great stories we had today. And, man, we got a lot more to tell. Fred, God bless you. Go ahead.
The best thing about this business is when you get together with some of your friends, you remember in those stories. Once I have to say one thing, another guy will say another thing, and those stories come together.
Oh, yes, because a lot of things that you forgot, but somebody would do something to remind you of one.
Oh.
That's good. Hey, buddy, I love you, man. You have a wonderful day.
I love you, brother.
Thank you, Fred.
Ricky Morton, what a great conversation that was with Fred Ottman, also known as Tugboat, Typhoon, and the Shockmaster.
You know it, man. I love having our guest on the School of Morton, but I want to tell everybody out there next week, make sure you stay tuned, because from the House of Hardcore, Tommy Dreamer will be joining us.
And you can send your questions via Twitter to @RealRickyMorton and @ScottyIsOn. We'll do our best to ask Tommy Dreamer when he's our guest next week. Check us out, archives, so many guests from the past, rickymorton.podbean.com, also on iTunes at School of Morton and so many podcast platforms, ProWrestlingTees.com, search for Ricky Morton there.
She said, Rama, Lama, Bama, Lama, rock and roll.